So today we're going through Intro to Corrections, or Intro to the Correctional System, study guide for test 1. So basically what you would need to know is there are 4 goals. So 4 goals of correction. So the first goal is, or the first one, it can be, it doesn't really matter about the order, which is retribution. And basically what that is having an eye. So an eye for punishments. So that's that one. Second is incarceration. And this means basically this is what basically keeps you in prison. Okay, and then we have the third one as deterrence. And basically what this is, this stops people for committing crime, and this basically has to do with sentencing. So that's what that one does. And we have a fourth one, which is rehabilitation. So I think I'm spelling this right. And basically what that is, it basically you basically change their lives in prisons. So kind of like you're changing their life for the better. You're hopefully gonna change their life, and basically when they come out of prison, they kind of know they're a better person. They learn from the mistake, and they can move on and have a good life. So we have the PA versus Audubon. So PA is the Pennsylvania system, basically it's like the both prison and jail systems. We have that versus Audubon. Auburn, and that's basically Auburn is New York. That's basically a prison inside New York or jail. The difference is that these are both like old prisons. So like when we start having like our first jails, this is what comes to mind, because basically when jails back then were actually made up differently than we have jails today, because we had different beliefs back then, which is like the 18th and 19th and 20th century compared to today, the 21st century. So this is more like the 18th. I think this is like 18th or 19th century, and so yeah, it's a couple 200 years ago, or about 200 years ago. So the Audubon, this one had harsh punishments. It had it was one celled. Harsh punishments. I'm gonna say HP for harsh punishments. One celled. It had work and school, and it had corporal punishments, CP. Where corporal punishments are basically beatings, if you want to say. They're basically the guards would actually beat you. They can't obviously do it today, but this is one of the punishments they had back, like I said, when jails were first starting to form and start to come. Basically, in the past, they were just like, we need to place all these bad people, and then basically that's how prisons and jails started to come about. And they had corporal punishments, and they realized that it wasn't like right to do it, or it wasn't really helping, and it was making the prisoners more messed up. So they stopped doing it, and it's just what we look at as today. We shouldn't really beat people, and especially back then, we beat prisoners. It's kind of like the Marines back in the past. Like even just like 40 years ago, the drill instructors were allowed to actually punch and hit recruits. Nowadays, you can still push recruits, but you cannot hit them at all. You cannot get away with that nowadays. It's changed a lot. So we also talk a lot about the penitentiary, and basically what that is basically with that is basically you have to deal with God. So back in the day when they first started making jails and prisons, they were really religious. So these people started religious, but I think now it's becoming definitely not as religious as we used to be, but we still are. A lot of people are still religious, but they used to look at prison and jails as forgiving God, and basically praying for God when you get out. So that was that. Like religious was actually a big thing in jail and prisons, but obviously not anymore. still you can still go. You're still entitled to go to prison. I mean, you're still entitled to do if you want to do like religious stuff in prison, and pray at least one time a week. Doesn't have to be Sundays, but you don't have to. You don't want to. So also we have reformatory system. I'm just gonna write reform system, and that is a Y. So basically, reformatory systems are it's a 4-step one. So we kind of have first is I'm going to abbreviate education. The second is work and trades. The third is counseling, and the fourth is basically you earn your way out through good behavior. So that's basically what the reformatory system was and what they believed what it should be about and how prisoners should get out. So it's through education, it was through work and trades, counseling, and you earn your way out through good behavior. That's how some of the prisons are actually built upon. These are some like the rules and regulations the prisons were built upon. You also have a lot of you probably heard about this, and it's pretty interesting. Alcatraz. You guys watched the documentary on Alcatraz. It's pretty interesting how they escape prison or jail, and basically they get out of it, and they are to this day they never found their bodies, so we don't know if they're alive or dead. Actually, a team of I believe like the most fit Navy SEALs, and they actually tried doing what they did and tried getting to like land from like where they were, trying to get the closest land from like where they were on the island in Alcatraz, but they couldn't even do it. They're really fit, so it's definitely possible for them to be alive, but I believe that they are not alive. If our most fit Navy SEALs or whatever can't even do it, I don't think it's just some prisoners could do it, but you never know. Anything's possible. But you know. So with Alcatraz, basically Alcatraz open was made for the worst and worst prisoners in in the United States. That's what it was made for. Was keep the worst of the worst, like Al Capone, Birdman. So all those bad people. And why it was closed is because it was too expensive to run. Okay. We also have the Clinton escape, which actually just happened kind of recently, which is the Clinton escape was actually in 2015. And basically with the Clinton escape, you had these two guys, and you had this teacher, and basically these two prisoners actually like kind of the teacher was married, okay, and the two guys kind of like tricked the teacher and like fall in love. They might have fell in love with her, but like the prisoners are not right in the first place. Both these guys are murderers, but they kind of tricked her and getting her to fall in love with them, and she actually like really fell in love with them. Like she actually like. So they made like a plan that like she was gonna help them escape prison, and basically what she did was she brought in like tools to help the prisoners. I guess you can bring tools in through your food. I guess this is kind of like before they started using like metal detectors in some prisons. So I don't know how, but she got away with it. So she brought tools, and she gave the tools to these prisoners, and then they broke out like it's kind of like Alcatraz. Like on the bottom we have like a little like air vent, and they just broke through that with tools, and then they followed the pipelines up. But they actually followed. That's what Alcatraz did. They followed the pipelines up, and then they got like they made a boat out of raincoats, and then they went. They climbed down from the building, and they went. They cut the fence or barbed wires, and they actually went on the boat. I mean, they actually made the boat from like raincoats. They went on the water, and they went away. That's what they escaped Alcatraz. And the Clinton escape, basically, the teacher was gonna meet him outside. They actually like broke down the air vent on the bottom, and then they went through like the back of like the prisons, which was like the pipes, and then they actually went through like a sewage pipe, and they broke their way through like the sewage pipe. But then they came up like from the sewage pipe, and actually like like the nest over like little like town, which is like all the people living in, and then the teacher was supposed to meet them there, but she didn't. But they both ran, and one of them actually gets shot in a bar, and the other one leaves the other one because the other one's slowing him down. So you have I forgot the two names. It was Sweaty or Sweat, and it was like Mark or something like that. One Sweat survived, and the other guy, Mark, I think his name was, he didn't survive. He was in a bar, he was drinking, he got shot, and Sweat ran away. And Sweat was actually trying to run to Canada to go to the border, because if if we shoot him in Canada, we could have a lot of like legal problems because it's not in our territory anymore. But he was actually really close, but Sweat didn't make it to the Canada border because basically like it was like the field basically where like if you actually cross over the field, you're actually in the Canada border compared to being in the United States. So it was pretty cool. But they both were caught. They actually, you look up videos on YouTube. The sweat guy actually apologized for, like, escaping prison, but it just shows you that, like, anything's possible. Like, Alcatraz is supposed to be inescapable, but people find a way to escape. So basically, that's what happened. Why Alcatraz escaped was because of lack of security. Lack of security by the guards, and also being confident in the security system for Alcatraz. So also a big thing to talk about is solitary confinement, and this is basically when you're alone in a cell for like 20 to 23 hours a day, basically because of you did like some violent acts in prisons with other people, with other like inmates, so they can't really have you with other inmates, so they put you in solitary confinement. And it has a lot of mental, we had to write a paper on it. It has a lot of mental issues. It makes you go crazy. It's mentally not good for you. You need human contact, whether you want to admit it or not. Even just a little human contact you need every day. And some of these prisoners or inmates were locked up for years and years, which it really messed them up in the head. So it's really controversial, but it's just what they did back then. So just some amendments. You have the First Amendment. Basically, what this amendment was, it was, it's obvious. You should know this. It's freedom of your speech, religion, and press. You have the Eighth Amendment, which is basically your conditions of confinement, as in like jail terms. And we have the 14th, 4th, and 47th. 47th is basically is cell searches. You have the Fourth Amendment, which is search and seizures, and you have the 14th Amendment, which is the due process in prisons. So those are those amendments. And lastly, I want to talk about some terms, which is debtor, which basically means you cannot pay your debt. We also have Bridgewell, or not Bride. Is it Bridgewell? Yeah, Bridewell, which is basically the House of Corrections. It's like the main house of your corrections, whatever corrections. I can't. Right. You also have social control, which is basically where the prisoners' lives are basically regulated and controlled every second of the day, so you don't have any privacy. That's basically what happens when you go to prison. You still have rights, but most of your rights get taken away because you're in prison and you don't have any basic freedom. Also, the Penitentiary Act, which is basically it brings prisoners to it's basically going to prison to ask God for forgiveness, like we talked about before, the penitentiary. Also, we have two more terms. I want to talk about the Walnut Street Jail. This is basically like one of the jails. Basically, what this jail was, this jail had beds. It had meals, 3 meals a day, and it separated men, women, and children. And it basically carried one person per cell. So, and the last thing I want to talk about is plead bargain. So basically, what that is basically when the defendant will plead guilty to get less charges. So you're gonna plead guilty, you get less charges, because you're guilty, basically. Most of them do that because they know they're guilty, or they know they're not gonna have a chance to win. So they're just gonna plead guilty, and they're gonna get the sentence, but they're gonna get less of the sentence for admitting that they're guilty. So that's just some reviews for your test 1, hopefully for corrections. Hopefully you do pretty good. I just got the test back. I got an 85 on it. And I should have studied more, but I only studied for like an hour, even like a half hour, 45 minutes around there. And this is the study guide I basically created for myself and used that I just showed in this video. So thank you so much for watching, and peace.